Hello friends, today I'm painting an easy watercolor landscape in a loose technique. For more videos like this, please subscribe to my channel. I'll be using ultramarine, English Venetian red, yellow ochre and permanent green olive. My paper is 300 grams Saunders Waterford cold press. I take my big synthetic brush that imitates squirrel. It absorbs and then gives a lot of water. First, what I'm doing, I wet the upper part of my paper with clean water. Then I take a small amount of ultramarine mixed with a tiny bit of Venetian red to paint the sky. You can use Burnt Sienna or Burnt Umber instead of Venetian red. The mixture should be very pale, so I use a lot of water. I'm applying the pigment to the upper part of the sky, but I'm only creating spots rather than covering the entire space. I add more Venetian red to the mixture for the lower part of the sky and in some parts of the upper part to make the sky appear darker. I'm mixing olive green with Venetian red and ochre to create some yellow-greenish mixture for the background. But you can mix ultramarine with cadmium yellow to create your own green color instead of olive green from the tube. Then I add ultramarine and Venetian red to the foreground. More olive in the mixture for the front part of the painting to create some depth. I take my elastic synthetic brush. It absorbs not so much water, so I use it where I need to apply more pigment. For the distant forest, I'll mix ultramarine with Venetian red, adding more olive green for variation. I'm building the shapes of distant trees. I create a mixture using all the colors, and I'm going to paint a relief of the land. The paper is still a little bit wet, and I attempt to soften the edges using my wet large brush, which only has water in it. I'm adding water drops from my brush to create texture in the foreground. I want to add more green color to this part to make it darker. Some green along with Venetian red. I'm mixing Ultramarine, Venetian red and Ocher again for the edges. And I'm checking if this part of the paper is dry enough to paint bushes. Removing some pigment with a dry brush. And using just a wet brush to soften the edges. Using the same mixture but with more Venetian red, I paint the foreground. Just some spots. The paper is still wet, so the pigment spreads and mixes beautifully. Adding more olive and ochre here. More Venetian red. I'm using hair dryer now to dry the paper because it's too wet for painting trees. I'm using my smallest brush with very thin tip and create a dark mixture with a lot of ultramarine and Venetian red in it. I'm going to paint trees now. I start from the branches. My brush is almost dry. I'm mixing ultramarine with olive for painting the leaves. Here I'm using my synthetic brush. I'm adding some ochre in the mixture. Ocher. Ultramarine with Venetian red for the shadows. When dried, ultramarine and ochre create a beautiful granulation effect, so I put pure ochre on some parts of the leaves. Pure ochre. Some shadows here. Some more branches. Again, I'm mixing dark mixture and paint the distant trees. They should not be as contrasting as the trees in the foreground to create some atmospheric perspective and depth in the painting. I use more water here and ultramarine and olive pigments. I'm adding some details and the grass here and there. Some grass here and there. This also will give more depth to the painting. And the painting is ready now. After drying, I noticed beautiful granulation effects on the tree leaves. As I mentioned previously, it was a reaction of ultramarine and ochre. I hope you enjoyed the painting process. If you are painting with me, you are very welcome to post your artworks in my secret Facebook group for my patrons. The link to my Patreon page is in the description box. Thank you for watching and for subscribing. Happy painting!